cover-ups, lies, and in between, conspiracies, and those who dare to speak the truth. Get ready for a walk on the wild side. Welcome to Parley with your host, Michael Gray.
Hi all, this is Mike Gray with Parley, and I have a really great guest for you today, or tonight, depending on when you're listening. It's Mike Bluehair, or Mike Smith from Film the Police.
Film the Police Portland.
Film the Police Portland. Yeah, hey Mike.
Yes.
You there?
Hey man. Yeah,
hey,
I'm here.
Man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing quite well.
Okay, cool. I love your picture with your blue mohawk.
Nice.
Yeah, anyone can find you on Facebook. You're Mike Smith, then under Film the Police PDX.com.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group just for police accountability or the police accountability work that we do called FTP Film the Police Portland. The best way to contact me is actually just to type Mike Bluehair, Mike first word and then Bluehair, like as if that was my last name. Into Google and just contact me through my YouTube channel. Up will pop, as soon as you Google that, you'll see a few hundred videos. Just contact me through my YouTube channel if your listeners are interested in what I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, great. And on Facebook, you're just under Mike Smith?
Just under Mike Smith, so that's kind of harder to find.
Oh, yeah, right. But yeah, they can find you on your YouTube page, Mike Bluehair, or
yes.
If you go to Facebook, Mike Smith. Okay, cool. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
How long are you a native of Portland?
Oh no, I'm originally from North Carolina. Like I'm from a really small rural town in North Carolina called Southern Pines.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
How many chapters are there of Film the Police?
FTP chapters, there's only two. There's Film the Police Portland, and then there's Derek Revies runs an outfit out of Minneapolis called Film the Police Minneapolis. So
okay,
we have
cool.
2 chapters so far. There's organizations similar to mine that's all over the country. I mean, I would like to showcase some of the other cop-watching organizations, so if people want to get involved with them, they could. If you go to copblock.org and look at their map, CopBlock is a decentralized organization of satellite groups. Anyone can start a CopBlock chapter if you choose, and you have to run it yourself. They're not really in charge of you. You just have to follow their basic ideas of police accountability and whatnot. And there's literally hundreds of chapters of CopBlock. There's also CopWatch groups. If you go to copblock.org and then look at their map, they've done a really good comprehensive map with little pins on it showing you most of the active cop-watching groups in North America on their website. My chapter is there, Cop Watch chapters, Cop Block chapters. This really started, as far as the whole police accountability through video in the 90s with the whole, just after, in the years following the Rodney King beating, people started doing this in Los Angeles, in places not like New York and stuff, and basically the newer manifestations of this came from that,
Well, yeah, definitely the Rodney King thing kind of started it all, didn't it, with filming the police and catching them in the act. What would you say is the percent? Look, I have family that are police and in law enforcement. My childhood best friend is a cop, and we all have relatives or know someone who's a cop, and I just want to say that I believe, and I think you do too, that the majority of police are good, honest, law-abiding people and aren't bashing people's heads in. But what you're saying, what I'm saying is, we have to weed out the bad apples, correct?
Well, you just evoked 2 responses, and one of them, let's go through the first one. When people say weed out the bad apples, here's my response to that logically. If there's only a few bad apple cops, right, and the majority of them, let's suppose that the majority of them are good, well-meaning people, then why is it so hard to get rid of those few bad apples? I think we need to examine the social psychology of what people think of themselves, or how people think of themselves when they are law enforcement. Us as citizens, we need to really take a control of a culture of holding them accountable. So my logical response to that is if there's just a few bad apple cops, then how come they can't clean up their own house? If I lived in a house with 8 people and there's only one, dish in the sink, how hard is it for those 8 people to clean the dish out of the sink? So
right.
That would be my response to that few bad apple thing.
I think what happens is they get they get a kind of tribal mentality going, where it's us against them, and you know what I mean. So they kind of close ranks and protect. You know what I mean? They maybe look the other way.
That's part of it. Yeah. I mean, I also have law enforcement in my family. Well, retired law enforcement. Like I have an uncle that all of my formative years, my childhood and my teens, was a highway patrolman. In North Carolina. So I mean, I know the mentality. But that said, the statement I made about, how hard should it be for them to just clean up one dish out of the sink, using that metaphor. Also, I would tend to agree with you. Since I started this Film the Police Portland project about 2 years ago, when I go out every weekend with a group of friends and film police encounters, is I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of cops. Most of them, I would say, get into it from a legitimate animus of wanting to do something helpful for society.
Correct, right.
I think the problem is society has a lot of issues, like culturally, depending on where you live and the demographics, our society is permeated with a lot of really effed up kind of stuff. I mean, we have a lot of rampant classism and, racism, sexism in our society, and the police are going to reflect those cultural manifestations. So the police
you're right. Unfortunately,
aren't really the
You're
problem.
right. Unfortunately, police see the worst of humanity in their job
every day.
Every day. So when they come across a regular person, a regular citizen who's just, let's say, maybe speeding, they kind of, they can be harsh with them. You know what I mean? And go overboard.
Well, I could see that, but also, if you think about it, I mean, policing, right, is a job that a sociopath would be naturally attracted to wanting to choose as a career path. So, in my experience, there's 3 kinds of cops, right? There's a legacy type cops where their families, were into it before them, or they just felt a need to be a sentinel for society, to be a good person. And, cop is a natural choice for that person. Then there's the person that's just doing their job, like the Nazis tried to say that, I was just doing my job, so, I was just, doing what I was told. They just want the paycheck. That's all they're thinking about. It's just a paycheck. It's just a job, And then there's the operator type cop. This is a sociopath that just wants to, use this position of perceived power and the legal ease and the access to being able to dominate other people and enforce their will over other human beings. So those are the 3 basic categories of cop that I've experienced in the 2 years that I've been doing this. So, for whatever that's worth to your listeners.
No, I agree. I think you're right. Yeah. What? Now you wanted to talk about body cameras that they're issuing now. What do you think about that? I kind of think it's a good idea, but there are pros and cons to everything. What are your thoughts?
Well, as a professional cop watcher, and what I mean by that is I spend about 20, sometimes maybe even 30 hours a week doing this. It's my passion. I don't get paid enough to be doing this. It's a struggle, but still, it's my dream to be, to thumb my nose at the system and make a living wage at it. So I'm going to keep doing that. But as, from that perspective, body cameras. Well, let's see. There's pros and cons. I'd like to go through the cons first.
Sure.
The disadvantages that we, the people, are going to be experiencing through the cops having cameras. Most people do not understand their basic rights under, the rules. The rule book that these cops are supposed to be following is the constitutional republic, our First Amendment, which has been ruled by numerous Supreme Court rulings that, your right to video and audio record police during an interaction is your First Amendment right. Your Fourth Amendment, your right not to, have to consent to searches. Just your basic rights and how to deal with police. The fact that police have to have a reasonable, articulatable suspicion that you've committed a crime to even talk to you. Everything is voluntary. Cops are like word ninjas. When they go to little cop school, they get taught that to do things like they'll walk up to you and they'll say, "Excuse me, would you mind letting me look through your bag?" And if people say yes, or of course, and they just open up their bag and let them look at it, well, the police are going to be able to have documentation of people consenting to searches, just being reasonable. Right. When a cop walks up to you, when they're wearing that uniform, they are acting as an emissary of the government. Their job is to try to get you to consent to a search. Their job, police perceive themselves as working with the prosecutor. They want to collect data, right, that the prosecutor can use to actually get a conviction. That's what a cop's job is. So from the moment they step out of their front door with that uniform on, they are not a person. People can't be thinking about cops like they're regular people. So police will be able to document people consenting to searches. Also, there's an inherent conflict of interest if the cops are the ones that are in charge of turning the cameras on. If the cops are in charge of, did I charge my battery that day? Did I not charge my battery that day? Where is the cop standing, when his partner is beating someone? There's also problems with body cameras that have to do with angles. Okay, basically what a camera can see is a cone. It's a cone. The point of the cone is at the dead center of the lens, and it gets wider as it moves farther away from the lens. If you look at police body camera footage, when they're within arm's reach of the person they're interacting with, it obscures what the camera can see. Also, if you're talking about body cameras, when a cop draws their weapon and holds their arms out, whether it be OC spray, whether it be a taser or a handgun, their arm will obscure what the camera can see. After a few years of these cops using these cameras, they're going to get really good at using their bodies to edit what the viewer can see. Those are all cons. So if a cop pulls a gun and aims it, his arms are covering up the lens of the camera. And then what we have is the same old argument that we had before body cameras even came into our social consciousness. And it's this: the people on the side of the person that the police shot or tasered or pepper sprayed are going to say that the person didn't reach into their waistband and try to produce a weapon. The cops are going to say, well, the officer saw him pull a weapon out of his waistband, but the cop's arms are going to be blocking what the camera can see because they have to hold the gun in front of it. So you have these conflicts of interest, and they will get really good at, how do I stand? If I just change the angle of the way I stand, I know this camera will be obscured. Something else. It's always better to have a third party filming a police interaction. And the reason why is I want your listeners to just type up police dash cam videos sometime and watch them. So the police car pulls up and pulls someone over, right? And then you can see the officer walking from behind the car up to the window, and you can't see what's going on. The person might be reaching in their dashboard. The person might be fiddling with their lap. They might have dropped their keys. You know, they might have both their hands on the steering wheel. You can't see from that angle. But a cop watcher or someone filming, like myself, would have the presence of mind. I call it the sweet spot. When I film a traffic stop or a police interaction where they have a car pulled over, I walk all the way around to the front of the window and I shoot through the window with the camera so that you can see the interaction between the police and the person in the vehicle. You're not going to get that from dash cam footage. Right. So they're going to be able to make up whatever they want. So there's these conflicts of interest. Now let's do the pro side. You know, there are advantages on having the body cameras on cops, and I'll go through that as well if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, the pro side is if you have all your officers wearing body cameras, the chances of them all being able to, use their bodies to edit the footage by, holding their arm a certain way or turning away when their buddy is, choking somebody or whatever. It's lessened the more cameras you have on them. And there's certain camera systems that are very hard for the cops to edit and mess with. Taser International, they're a scumbag corporation, but unfortunately they do the best body camera system. Their system, it hooks into their taser, like the camera actually monitors and marks the time and how long the cycles were of the taser volts going through someone. But it also runs for the entire officer's duty shift. Like the ones Taser International makes, if they do a 12-hour shift, I think the shifts in Portland are 12 hours. I don't know about other places, but it's one continuous piece of video from beginning to end. Now, if those particular cameras are used, it's going to be really hard for them to, mess with the footage.
Yeah,
and I'm very much pro that, and there are, another pro side is there's a lot of cops out there. I've spoken with them on numerous occasions that are very pro body camera. They believe that it protects them because they do want to do a good job. They do want to be, helpful to society. They want there to be a record of their interactions because they believe that what they're doing is providing a good service to society. So those would be pros, the particular type cameras that are used, and the fact that there are a lot of cops that want to be transparent and they actually want to wear these cameras. And we're at a kind of critical place in society, the dinner conversation that's been going on since last August with the whole Mike Brown shooting and stuff, police accountability and issues of society losing trust or faith in the symbolic, cop.
Right.
Because to me, what a policeman is basically a symbolic representation of the government,
I could add, in my opinion, and I know you're maybe not a conspiracy guy, or I think that the Mike Brown thing was a psyop and staged. That's my opinion. Might not agree, but that's a whole other show. We're not going to cover that on this show. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But overall,
I've been in the conspiracy realm quite a bit.
I thought the dash cams on the cop cars overall were a good thing, and still are. But I think
they can be. Depending on
if the cops are going to have those body cameras that can't be edited and they just run for 12 hours, I think that'll be a good thing. And I also wonder why they don't have dash cams on the top of the car as a 360, and they could have like 3 cameras on the top of the police car, where the lights are mounted, to give a 360 view. You know what I mean?
Well, thing is right. Okay, it's cost prohibitive. Okay, I'll give an example. A 2-hour HD video file in 1080i or 720p is, I don't know, 2-3 gigs of space. You know, you're talking 12 hours. Okay, the data, the bandwidth and the data for all that is very cost prohibitive. So if you have, 3 cameras per cop car, and you're running body camera footage, that's going to get real pricey real fast. And here's the thing that a lot of people aren't thinking about as well. It's one of the cons of the body cameras. I believe that most municipalities will go with the GoPros just because they're such better technology. And then you have, Barack W. Bush or whatever his name is, Barack Obama or Bush with a Democratic paint job, or, Straussian neocon, the African version, whatever you want to call our president, is subsidizing, the first big chunk of, the public dime to fund these things. I think they're going to go with the Taser International ones. And, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. What did you say right before?
That's a good question. What were we talking about? The body cameras. I was saying that I think that the new dash cams, they could come out with dash cams on top that are 360.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, the thing about it being cost prohibitive. This is the way the Taser cameras work. If you go with their cameras, you have to be a permanent customer to their cloud server, because what happens is the cameras upload to their cloud, and then the city or the county that uses those cameras are permanent customers to a monopoly. A lot of this stuff comes down to who's getting paid,
Right.
And Taser International is going to just make a literal killing. If you read statistics of people being killed by cops, tasers kill more people statistically than guns do in this country.
The cops use them like a torture device.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
tasering people over and
listen.
over again and to comply. I mean, I've seen them taser pregnant women.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
That's what I mean. I mean, fundamentally, the police need to be retrained in how to deal with civilians, and we
need to retrain them. We need to teach them that we're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah. Well, you saw like the cop in New Mexico. I don't know if he's been fired. The one that fired on that the black lady with the van full of children. Remember that?
Oh yeah. I saw that years ago when the video came out. Yeah. Yeah, I think that
she gets
that cop
pulled over
was
for
fired.
a traffic stop, and then she gets hysterical. Okay, she gets in her van, she takes off, then she pulls over, and then there's another scuffle. She gets in the van, and a cop, knowing that she's a mom with 4 kids in the car, shoots at the van.
Yeah, he dumps as many shots as he can before she gets off, just right into the back window. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, New Mexico's crazy.
Now,
like
why
I know
doesn't
some of the
somebody go get that
there.
guy?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you said you're a conspiracy guy, and just so you know, I mean, back in 2007, I was really big into the 9/11 Truth movement. False flag events, they do happen. There's historical precedents going back, as far as the USS Maine, in the U.S. that our government has seized upon the opportunity to use fear as a mode of control. It's as old as our society, basically. But anywho, let's go back to New Mexico. I know activists out there, like Albuquerque Cop Block, my friend Dinah Verges, she does a lot of work out there, and the police are horrible in New Mexico. I mean, they're shooting homeless people like it's free. Just a couple of years back.
The one homeless guy, okay, he was out camping or something. He was kind of crazy.
Yeah, James Boyd.
And the cop, 2 hours before, the one cop said to a New Mexico state trooper that he was going to shoot him in the dick. He said dick.
He said dick.
I listened
to that.
When he went behind them, he shot him. He was face down. He took his rifle or gun and shot him in the buttocks, where his the back of where his genitals were. So he got his wish.
Sure, that was definitely a murder. And
yeah.
I'm so happy that the district attorney has actually charged those two cops with murder. That's the
Good.
first time in New Mexico history that cops were charged with murder. They just murdered James Boyd. I mean, I've read quite a bit about police training, and I watched plenty of police training videos. And there's something that they teach them. It's called distance equals time. Okay, and there's a scenario, right, where they'll have a officer trainee going through with a fake gun, and they'll have a situation, right? Say there's a guy with a rubber crowbar, and he's standing over another guy, and they're fighting, and your trainer's standing behind you, and they're like, what do you do? And distance equals time has to do with drawing a weapon that's supposed to make the assailant feel like, that you have control, but there's enough room between you and them that you can deploy your weapon. So they want them to stand, 10 or 15 feet away and then draw their gun. Well, I think that's flawed psychology, and the reason why is because if you look at police training in the United Kingdom, they teach them to be more hands-on. They'll teach them to quietly come up behind the suspect and grab them, as opposed to drawing a weapon. Once you draw a handgun or a taser, there's something called 21-foot reaction drills that cops go through, especially with a knife. They have a trainer stand across from them with a knife, and they have their fake gun with the blanks, holstered, and they have the trainer run at them. It takes about 2.5 to 3 seconds to close 21 feet. So that's also in these cops' minds. So when they go through this distance equals time, okay, I have more time to deal with the situation if I draw my weapon and make them stop if they're, 15, 20 feet away from me, it locks them in to having to use the weapon. Because if you have the weapon drawn and aimed, you do not physically have the time to holster that weapon and then take your hands out. So you're locked into using the gun. So that psychology and that training is statistically, I believe, causing more shooting deaths of citizens.
Right.
And that's precisely what they did with James Boyd. They stood, away from him with the rifles drawn, and
he wasn't bothering anybody. He was just out in the middle of nowhere.
He was out in the middle of nowhere. In defense of the cops, I have to be objective. He did have, a knife. He had a knife drawn, but they came at him and brought a dog. They surrounded him on all sides, and then they brought a dog, and then they slowly crept the dog towards him closer and closer and closer. And they're trying to. This is no way to defuse a situation.
They taunted him, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, they should have, they could have covered him with to make sure he couldn't hurt anybody with those semi-automatic rifles, those AR-15s, from 30 yards away, and they could have had a crisis intervention person or a negotiator, talk to him, through a megaphone.
Yeah.
They had all these options. They chose to force him into a state of duress by bringing a dog and then slowly creeping this canine towards him. And those dogs are no joke, man. Those dogs are scary. I've watched those dogs work, and they would make a reasonable person, not even a person like James Boyd, because he had mental health issues. They will make a regular person act quite irrationally. I would be terrified.
The one cop definitely, that one cop definitely set out to kill that guy. I mean, there's no doubt.
Sure, it shows criminal intent when the cop says on the dash cam video, "Oh, I'm going to shoot this guy in his penis," and then later, he actually does shoot the guy in the groin area. Yeah.
Yeah, he told that to a New Mexico state trooper. He told that to New Mexico state trooper 2 hours before it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that footage. It was dash cam footage that you only could see the audio, hear the audio because the cops weren't in the frame. I saw it and listened to it, because you can't really see the cops in it. It's like an hour and something long. It's a really long video file. But
the worst thing was the Kelly Thomas too. The Kelly Thomas case. And I was shocked that those two cops got off. I just couldn't believe it. And here for 20 minutes, they're just beating the hell out of this poor kid, and he's crying, "Daddy,
and
Daddy,
he's begging."
help me." Yeah.
I know. I can't watch that whole thing. I tried. It's traumatic to even. I can't do it. I've tried to watch the whole Kelly Thomas thing, and it just no. It's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen.
Five guys are dogpiling on that guy, and 5 people could put him in handcuffs within a second. Put his and you know, you see what I'm saying? They just took their time. They just took their time. Think about that. 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
That's an eternity. Yeah.
I know. And I'm amazed he lasted that long. And his father is a retired cop.
Mm-hmm. Well, part of it is you know, it's the social psychology of what it is to be a cop. I mean, in a lot of ways, they're almost a cult. I mean, I really believe that. The thing is that they perceive themselves to be a separate class of human, you know, special, not like the rest of us. You know, there's this innate kind of superiority or feeling that they're above other people that comes along. It's a social trapping of being a cop, you know, and also there's a social pressure within, you know, the whole law enforcement community. Like, if you tell on a cop you see do something illegal and you're another policeman, okay, if you call for backup, you know, so you need help. There's like three guys, you know, you don't know if they have knives or guns or whatever, and you call officer needs assistance, you don't know who's going to be responding. If it's that other cop that you know, turned into internal affairs for, you know, doing X illegal thing, he might just decide to sit there and finish his coffee before he shows up, you know? So,
yeah.
So not only do you have this cult-like mentality that they feel that they're a separate class of human being and that they're going to be protected, you know, but you also have this social pressure not to, you know, basically tell on other cops for doing illegal things or even admonish them because you don't know. You're going to always need somebody to have your back,
yeah.
You know.
Hey, Mike, hold on. We're just gonna take a quick commercial break here. About a 5-minute break for commercials and for sponsors. I'm Mike Ray. Right. This is Parley, and we'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Hi, I'm Mike Ray, and I'm your host on Parley, and we're talking to Mike Bluehair from FilmThePolice.com in Oregon.
Film the Police Portland.
Oh, I'm sorry. Film the Police. Say it again, Mike.
It's Film the Police Portland.
Film the Police Portland, Oregon. The rainy Oregon, where Animal House was shot. One of my favorite movies. Yeah, we're back, and hey, Mike. So what do you think? Where do you think we're going with the police as far as? Are we going to rein them in? You know, is there going to be change? I mean, it seems like there's a crescendo happening here, especially when, you know, there were 3 cops in that New York incident where the motorcycle gang, and they were following, you know, there were 3 undercover, supposedly cops, off duty, but they were undercover.
Sure.
And
where they were attacking cars and breaking the windows and stuff.
Yeah, right. And people were, well, why the hell didn't they, not only did they not intervene, but they participated.
Sure.
You know? Into gang stalking and going after that family. But yeah, cool. I mean, it seems to me that there's been a lot of incidences that are being caught on film, and there's a backlash against the police. I mean, when I was a kid, normal citizens were not afraid of the police. And now they are.
Right.
And do you see that? Even my friend who's a cop, okay, he even said, yeah, we're hated now. And you know what I mean? I think the police are starting to see it now. Don't you think?
Right. Well, they're starting to see and feel people's reactions. Well, it has to do with the I believe that things aren't getting, say, super worse in an accelerated way. It isn't. One of the things is that the video technology is so ubiquitous. Now everybody's got a video camera. You know,
right,
you don't have to be rich to be able to. You know, there's live streaming technology. You know, everybody's phone's got a camera. So the narrative is being lost by the government. You know, this whole, you know, the man in blue is slowly, you know, incrementally, you know, it's like Fabian socialism, you know, like, you know, it slowly creeps along, you know, it's incrementally getting worse. But the reason people are perceiving things getting worse as far as policing, I believe, in such an accelerated, hyper sort of way is because of how ubiquitous the technology is. Now people can actually see what things are really like, you know. So, yeah, like information technology has leveled the playing field. They no longer have the narrative. You know, the narrative can all of a sudden be changed by, you know, a college student. You know, people that aren't even activists upload quite a few of these videos. You know, like the California, the CHP officer that's beating that black woman in the face, the grandmother.
Right.
You know, it's just some random guy trying to go to work. Nothing happened to him. I don't even believe they identified the officer.
Yeah, they did.
I don't think. Oh, they did? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't following that story, but like last thing I remember about it was that they didn't release the officer, but I don't believe anything happened to him. I mean, I'd like to get into that a little bit, actually.
Well, let me ask you,
how do you think? Why cops get away with this stuff?
How do you think when these cops are caught, like the Kelly Thomas case and that case, when their family and friends see them doing this, there's got to be backlash, even amongst their family and friends. There's got to be, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen examples of it. I mean, there's problem officers in Portland, Oregon. You know, there's a cop I absolutely despise. You know, his name's Todd Engstrom. There's 3 Angstroms in Portland Police Bureau. There's one of them's a sergeant, and then 2 of them are just officers. You know, but Todd has anger management issues. I mean, I've watched him do lovely things at protests. You know, I've watched him hit people. There's actually a video. There's a Discovery Channel documentary. I forgot the name of it. It's something to do with the drug war. But there's footage of him on Discovery Channel, like dropping down on a homeless person's dog with his knee. You know, and I've mentioned Todd to other officers in Portland, and they're like, yeah, he won't ever be doing that again. You know, they won't tell me on camera, but like, you know, there's many people in law enforcement that.
Wait. You know, what does that mean when they say he'll never be doing that again? What does that mean?
That means that he's being watched, and they're using social pressure to make sure that he doesn't. You know, that's what they infer. I've talked to many sergeants about Todd, you know, supervising sergeants, you know, and they watch him now. You know, I mean, I mean, there's a lot of cops out there that don't want the you know, the operator cops in their ranks. They want to get rid of them. You know,
right.
There's lots of social mechanisms that keep them around. You know, I mean, one of them is the Fraternal Order of Police. That's the most powerful police union in the country, and they're kind of like a cult. You know, I mean, honestly, like the FOP, if you want to be on city council in any city in America, it's very advantageous, if not essential, to have the blessing of the police union. There's also something called the Policeman's Bill of Rights. Did you know that there is a separate rule book for questioning law enforcement, that they get special rights that normal citizens don't get?
No.
Like if I were to hypothetically, it's called the Policeman's Bill of Rights. Google that. Check that out on Wikipedia. They have a separate rule book about how they're questioned. they can be questioned. They have to be questioned at a reasonable answer, a reasonable time and place. Meaning, sometimes they get as much as 8 hours to get their story straight. Sometimes 12 hours to get their story straight and all their ducks in a row, and everybody's statement can match, that regular citizens do not get. If I am suspected of committing a crime, a policeman walks up to me right there on the street and interviews me, starts recording our conversations in the car, maybe on the way to the station. They start writing down in notepads, collecting data on the spot. If a cop commits a crime, they get to wait sometimes as long as 8 or 12 hours before they even have to start speaking. Okay, these kind of inequalities is one of the reasons why police get away with this stuff.
Right. One of the other biggest things that really concerns me is the overblown overuse of SWAT teams, these no-knock raids at 2 and 3 in the morning for the most picayune thing you can imagine, like a warrant for, driving without a license. You know what I mean? And it's almost like they're practicing on us, and that's got to stop. Who sets the policy, or there's got to be a statute of how and why a SWAT team can be used. And the problem is we're leaving it up to policy, and that's just wrong. We need laws that say when and how a SWAT team can be engaged.
Sure. Well, I mean, there's not only do we need laws, but for policing to be better. But I have to give the audience a little background about me. Actually, I'm an anarchist, so I would like it, if humanity would evolve to a point to where we could, through enlightened self-interest. And what I mean by that is, if I bump into your car, Michael, with my car,
right,
as an anarchist, I want to take personal responsibility for my own life and action, therefore alleviating the need for government. I don't like breaking windows, and I'm not a fan of wearing black masks and throwing rocks at cops. No, that's not what anarchism really is. Anarchism is when people decide to take responsibility for their own life and actions, and therefore the need for a government to squat on top of us and say, oh, well, I'm going to issue a ticket, and here's your police report, and did you have insurance? Didn't you have insurance? How about I myself offers Michael money for the dent I put in your car? That's what anarchism is to me. So, yeah, I mean, as a police accountability activist, I do have interest in laws being formed to curtail their behavior, but, I just have to throw that out there. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. I believe that, markets should be black. The government shouldn't have anything to do with free markets, and if we were allowed to interface with each other in a monetary way, we wouldn't need these banking systems. We wouldn't need a New World Order cabal squatting on top of us. We wouldn't need, fiat currency. We wouldn't need, Wall Street. Things like Bitcoin and barter and trade and agorism, I think they're essential tools to get rid of the government. I mean, government is way too centralized. It has way too much vertical integration of power. It's just a mess. And those are systemic problems that the police are a symptom of. Post 9/11, I mean, you deal with a lot of conspiracy stuff on your show, correct?
Correct. Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm into conspiracy theories, yeah, definitely.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm one of those, 9/11 was an inside job guys. So what I perceive 9/11 to be is the largest psychological operation in American history. I mean, all of our foreign and domestic policy has been based on this fear meme of an external enemy, perpetuated by the Straussian neocons. You had the Project for the New American Century and all these people. But post 9/11, our government has operated from a psychological perspective that we have this external enemy, so the government's going to protect you from it. It's all about fear. So this fear is starting to manifest itself in the way that the government disseminates information, in the way that it writes out its paperwork, in you have to get cleared with Homeland Security now to be a caregiver. Like, what?
What?
To push around wheelchairs? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Homeland Security does background checks on caregivers now. That's just ridiculous to help people with their bedpans or older folks or, people with cerebral palsy that need you to go shopping for them. Yeah, Homeland Security does all that. Like, they do background checks on them. So the government post 9/11 has interfaced with the people in a climate of fear, and I don't believe anything done in a climate of fear can be healthy. So one of the reasons why you have the use of SWAT teams becoming so ubiquitous, and you have programs like the federal, the 1099 program or whatever it is, where they give away surplus military hardware to it's a 1033 program, sorry. If you just Google that, the federal government and the Pentagon just gives surplus Bearcat mine-resistant vehicles to, really small Midwestern towns.
Right,
I mean, what do they need that stuff for? It's ridiculous,
A retired colonel said that they're pre-positioning this equipment in certain areas for a reason. That's the military pre-positioning. They're giving it to the police, okay, the local police and sheriffs, and when the time comes for the takeover, the police and sheriffs will keep that equipment, upgraded and going, and then when the time comes, it'll be there to basically take over, have mercs take it over and use it against us. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you'll notice also that any new sheriff buildings or police stations they have moats. They're like redoubts now. You know what I mean?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Well, right now, as it stands, if our economy keeps going the way it does, used to be years ago that the inflation, the amount of money that the Federal Reserve would print, they used to publicize that. They don't do that anymore. You can't research in an index how much money they're printing anymore. It's because it's gotten so crazy. They're printing so much money now, And then if you do some research into economics, there's something called the BRICS nations. The BRICS nations are basically all the nations that fall
Russia,
outside
China,
of
India, Brazil. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. These guys are thinking about backing away from the dollar as a reserve oil currency. And if they do this, there is absolutely no safety net. The United States will go into a hyperinflation that will make what happened to the post-Weimar Republic Germans look like a Sunday afternoon picnic with the family where everybody gets a free turkey. It's not going to be pretty.
You ever see the movie Rollover?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's in that scene is depicted in the movie Rollover, basically with
oh, nice.
That's a 1980. I'll send you the link, but anyone could go on YouTube and look up Rollover.
Yeah.
The movie Rollover with Chris Christopherson. It's on, and I have a friend, not to mention YouTube, but it's on the internet. You could look it up. The movie Rollover.
What I was looking forward to seeing is the Gray State. It's really sad what happened to those people.
The what state?
The Gray State. Have you heard of the documentary or the? No, it was a docudrama about the police state. It was called The Gray State.
No, I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I gotta look at it.
Yeah, just type that in.
Oh no. Yeah, you're right. The guy supposedly died. He was killed.
Right. Yeah. Him and his wife and his child mysteriously died right before this anti-New World Order movie was supposed to be released into the internet. I can't recall the guy's name, but I was waiting for that movie to come out. I'd never heard of the people. I just saw the trailer a couple of years ago, and they were developing the film. I'm all, that looks interesting, Right. But it was basically what would happen. Would a resistance form if we had a economic collapse and whatnot? That was basically the theme of the movie, and I was looking forward to that coming out. I was wanting to ask you if you knew any background about it, but okay.
No, I started watching it. It's about 2 hours. It looks real. I saw the trailer. I think I saw the trailer.
Uh-huh.
It looks interesting, you know. But then, yeah, I heard that the guy was killed, and his family was killed too. His wife and kids.
Yeah, I believe his wife and daughter. That the official story is that it's a murder-suicide type thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet he cut his head off too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, one of the grandfathers of the you know, the whatever you want to call it, the truth movement, William S. Cooper, died under really mysterious circumstances. I mean, I read his book, And Behold a Pale Horse, you know, back in the 90s.
Oh no, he was shot by sheriffs, deputy sheriffs.
IRS people, right? No, CERT team, because they surrounded his house. Yeah.
And he supposedly shot one in the eye.
Yeah. That's the official story. But
right.
you know what's really, really, really strange is, like, just a couple days before 9/11, you know, Cooper's on his he did a shortwave radio show. I don't remember the name of it, but he you can see this stuff on YouTube. But he mentioned a false flag event happening, and he says it's probably going to happen in New York, and they'll probably blame Osama bin Laden for it. You know, and this was days before the CERT raid on his house. You know, I just find coincidences like that creepy. You know, I don't have a theory, but it's just one of those things that make your eyebrows raise, and you're like, well, when people make statements like this, and, you know, they're connected to events like that, this is what happens. You know, it's disturbing.
Well, Donald Rumsfeld on September 10th, when he's before Congress, saying, "Yeah, we don't know where $2.3 trillion went." They said, "Don't worry, we have the accountants at the Pentagon working on it right now. You know, they're going to find out where that $2.3 trillion went." And the next day, the exact place where the accountants, the only section that was bombed, however, whatever hit
the
that
Office
building,
of Naval Intelligence floor, and the accounting offices were hit, quote unquote, by an airplane that folded itself into the size of a cruise missile and inserted itself into the side of the building. Yeah.
Right. And do you know that no officers died on 9/11? Did you know that?
Right.
Yeah.
Nope. You know what? You know what's a telltale sign for me that 9/11 was just so full of, you know, government collusion on our side and military collusion is, do you know how many high-level, high-ranking, or even medium-ranking military officers were fired after 9/11? After one of the greatest, not one exactly, one of the greatest intelligence failures. And they didn't fire anybody with any kind of rank? Are you kidding me? You know, that's crazy. It's just insane, the level of BS your average American is willing to swallow, you know, as long as the trains are running on time, you know.
But what else are we? Yeah, you know, we got to do a whole roundtable show on what I believe are the I guess you'd call them psyops, stage events that they look real, but are just basically staged, and we're led to believe that they're real. And in my opinion, the Mike Brown thing was staged, and also the Garrison, the big black guy getting choked.
Well, I have a question. I mean, you do believe that he was shot, right?
Mike Brown?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think he was shot?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. It's possible that he was shot and killed, but I am now of the opinion that his family's in on it, and that was all faked and staged.
Well, I could give you some data that's not from the mainstream. I actually spent about a week and a half down in Canfield in the neighborhood where he was shot, back in August.
Right.
I uploaded a 30-video playlist, and I interviewed a bunch of folks that lived in that neighborhood. None of them would be willing to speak on camera because they were frightened. Get this, okay? Like, this is why I don't have any interviews up online.
What you mean?
About,
you mean black people in that neighborhood were afraid and wouldn't yell out?
They were afraid and wouldn't speak to me on camera or be interviewed about what they saw. And I'll tell you why. They all told me. Okay, in the 3-4 days after Mike Brown's shooting, right? Everyone in that neighborhood Because what happens in Canfield, you have the Canfield apartments, right? You have like they look like projects, you know, they're like 5-story buildings. And then you have those, and then surrounding all those are mostly working class, single family, black owned homes, right? So it's a bunch of houses that surround that. Well, the FBI knocked on everyone's door and asked them a series of questions off of a form. And it wasn't, hey, did you see the police? Where were you when Mike Brown was shot? You know, they did these interviews under the guise that they were trying to investigate what happened with the shooting. But these people told me that the multiple choice questions that were on they weren't multiple choice, just the questions that were on the form that the FBI agents were carrying was stuff like, do you know anybody that's planning armed insurrection against the government? Do you have any friends or associates that are part of any black militant organization? Do you know anybody that's planning on shooting or attacking law enforcement? They're like questions like that, you know. But, yeah, so they were all freaked out. I mean, could you imagine being a minority person that doesn't have access to lawyers?
Right,
that doesn't feel like the system's designed to protect them, and then these guys in suits walk up and ask you these kind of questions? Right. I mean, so that's why I don't have any interviews up on my YouTube channel, is because they told me the FBI frightened me. I don't want to speak to you on camera. I'll tell you what I saw. And they told me, you know, I interviewed and talked to, God, maybe 20 people getting their eyewitness accounts to what they saw. But they wouldn't speak on camera. They were afraid. And I can't blame them.
Well, Mike, we're coming at the end of the hour here. You want to just give a plug real quick where we can find you? And
Sure, yeah. If you type Mike Bluehair into YouTube, you can check out my playlist of hundreds of police accountability videos. I'm also branching out into Cop Watching 101, little short videos that are like a minute long, just describing, you know, tips and how to do it safely. Yeah, just check out Mike Bluehair on YouTube. That's Mike, first word, Bluehair, as if though that was my second name. Subscribe. I also added a support this channel button, so if you like what you're hearing, or if you scan through my videos and like what you see, I'd really appreciate your support, because I do this from the heart, and I'm not making a living wage at it, so, you know, any little bit will help. So hit my support button on the channel, Mike Bluehair.
All right, Mike, man, great interview. This is Mike Gray with Parley. Stay tuned for questions and answers with Mike Bluehair.
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.